have tried more with my hair. Not sure this worked. Yes. Okay. I started reading Darwin's The Origin of Species last week as a biologist, and I was very happy to see how many people joined and how many people watched it after on YouTube. Wait, let me get into my laptop, because I got a very interesting comment from one person, which I'm gonna have to read, or parts of it, gonna have to read to you, because this was very interesting to me in terms of, come on, where can I find you? Where can I find you? There we go. Now, this was very interesting to me because of the part where the person said, one thing that bothers me is your assumption that everything in the modern printing you are reading, even the punctuation, is exactly the same as in Darwin's original. It isn't. That's not how publishing works. And now I'm really intrigued and I want to know how publishing works in this terms. Like, so the point is that reading The Origin of Species, I had the problem last time that anytime some I don't even know what that's called in English, but when so people said different, and then the opposite of it would be indifferent. And in this book, Darwin is set to be writing it in space different. So the punctuation is different. Not the punctuation. The spelling is different because people are not, or not people. In this published piece of work, Darwin seems to have written different / in space different instead of indifferent, which I would assume is the actual way we're writing it today. But I don't know anything about that, so I brought my laptop because I need to know exactly how this worked before, you know, like how I want to see if I can find pictures of The Origin of Species where the punctuation is different than what it is in this published thing. And also, if anybody knows, please tell me, because I'm really interested in it. I wasn't until a few hours ago when I read the comment, but I'm very interested to know how publishing is handling such things, how publishing is deciding, okay, well, this is the original work, but to make it more suitable for today's readers, we're gonna have to, you know, do this way and change the writing in that way or something. Yeah, so I'm gonna Google now. The Origin of Species. Ooh. There's a preview and some pages written here, which look very old. This is very interesting. I mean, I can show you. This is how it looks. Wait, let me. This is how it looks. If you can see it, this is how it looks on this page that I found. And the thing is that it looks very old, but then it starts having these green, these very blue pages, which cannot be the case. But let's go forward. Okay, so we have some with the blue and some not. I'm not sure. Okay, introduction on The Origin of Species. We have read this. Okay, introduction on The Origin of Species. Why is this book not called On the Origin of Species, but just The Origin of Species? Did he actually call it On the Wait. Let me check. Yes. So the way this book is named in his title page, or I'm assuming that it is his title page because it looks super old and hashtag that's how everything works right now. It's called On, and then the origin of species. So apparently somebody just took the on out. And now let's go and see where the introduction was and co-read them to see what the differences are. So, introduction. When on board of the HMS Beagle, Beagle is set in, yes, the punctuation is changed. And it's true, the person who commented under my other video, under the live before, had said that it's actually the punctuation marks where you used to put a space before and after, like a semicolon or what is it called? I don't know English, okay? It's fine. So, but anyways, it is actually happening like that here. There's a semicolon here, which has a space before it, and there is the same semicolon here, but it doesn't have the space anymore. And then blah, blah, Mr. Wallace. Wait, Mr. Wallace. Yes, Mr. Wallace. Okay, who's now studying the natural history, blah. I want to find one of these in cases and see if they did it the same that he did it, or if they changed it and I just don't know how to actually write in anything. But I don't remember where one was. I could have been prepared for this, couldn't I? Here's one, but it is written together. Infertility. You're my soda pop, my little soda pop. Yes, I have an earworm. That's only a German thing to say. Very German. There was this part where I was pissed at it. Like, indefinite was one word, but then after indefinite, we see indefinite. That's page 3. Page 3 of the actual thingy. Yes, page. No case it has been, as far as I'm. Let me see. No, it should have been earlier. There are many laws regulating. You're my soda pop, my little soda pop. Causes of variability. When we look, my flabbers are gasted. What the actual fuck? Okay, so I'm pissed now. I'm pissed and intrigued. Because it says here that the start of the chapter, okay, chapter 1, the start of it, as we read it last week, was causes of variability. You can see it here, causes of variability, and then it starts with when we compare the individuals of the same variety, okay, and the same chapter here starts with when we look to the individuals of the same variety. or subvariety of our older cultivated plants and animals. One of the first points which strikes us. Everything else is the same, but they change the beginning of the sentence, and I don't like that. No. I don't like it because I don't understand it. I probably will like it as soon as I understand it, because I don't think that when we look to the individuals of the same variety would be so different or hard to understand compared to when we compare the individuals of the same variety. While comparing is a better word for it, I admit, but still I feel a bit cheated here. I do feel cheated because they changed everything. Okay, well, let me just find this indifferent thingy. I'm pissed now. No, I'm not pissed. I'm not. It's not that deep. I'm an adult. Do you know this meme, this TikTok where she freaks out about something and then she's, wait a second, I'm an adult. This is not that deep. Or what did you, I don't remember, but it's fine. Indefinite. Okay, well, I need to find this. As far as that, where is this? This is nowhere. I'm trying to match up the beginnings of sentences as far as I'm able to judge. A long list. They might have changed the beginnings of every paragraph, of course. I don't like this. I don't like it. I don't like it. Sporting plans. I have read the term sporting plans somewhere, so I think. But I didn't read more than that, so I need to find this. Everything is different in these two books. I hate this. I hate it. Changed habits. Changed habits. Decide and influence, blah. Seedlings from the same fruit. Can I search? Can I? No, of course I can't. I'm already pissed. I'm super pissed right now. There's no reason to be, but I've read this. Few things are variation under domestication. The effects of the offspring are either definite or indefinite. After a long time. Also, maybe the light is too bright. Go away. The shadow is because it's almost night and I have to, have a light to see. Well, now the light is too far away and I'm an old grandma. Sporting plants. I am just why does nothing match up in these two? Is this actually the origin of species, or is this the origin of species how it was written by Collins Classics? Okay, I'm gonna start from the beginning. From the beginning. When we reflect, and if we reflect, what the fuck? Since when do we like starting a sentence with and more than when we reflect? Ugh. And which have varied during all ages under the most climate treatment, blah, we are driven, blah. There's also, I think, they took his I think out. Some probability in the view performed by Andrew Knight. That is variability, yes. It seems pretty blah, yes. It seems, yes, yes. No case is on record, no case is on record. It has been disputed. Nothing has been disputed. Rapid improvement of modification. Rapid improvement of modification. It has been disputed. This sentence starts with, it has been disputed, on the old one, on the one that we found on the internet, okay? It starts with, it has been disputed that at what period of life the causes of variability, whatever they might be, generally act. And here, it's an entirely different sentence. It says, as far as I'm able to judge. So you're implying that he was not able to judge it enough to say that it has been disputed. After long attending to the subject, wishy-washy. The conditions of life appear to act in two ways. Directly on the whole organization on or certain parts alone, in the indirectly by affecting the reproductive system. Nothing of that. The entire text, it's an entirely different text. I'm dumbfounded. Why? Why can they just change the text that Darwin wrote so much that it's not even the same sentence anymore? And why are we calling this then the origin of species if it's not even close to what Charles Darwin actually wrote? But well, it is close. It is close. I'm dramatic right now, but still, like, why? Okay, let me Google it because I'm probably not the first person to notice this. Okay, how do I Google that? Why does publishing change old texts so much? Why do publishers change textbook editions so often? How do you feel about texts and passages in older books? What? Being changed because of certain outdated remarks or content. I feel pissed about it. That's how I feel. That's a Reddit thing, but I don't care right now. How book publishing has changed in recent decades and what? And the puzzling question of what comes next. No, I don't care about what comes next. How publishing's broken and what to do about it. I don't know. Okay, so AI overview, okay? That's what Google's AI says. Editorial publishing changes all text for several reasons. Editorial corrections, such as fixing errors or updating outdated language and references. New interpretations, with scholars offering new introductions or analyses. And commercial motives, as new translations or formatting can appeal to modern readers and make money, especially for public domain classics. I feel like that is not a good answer because we are talking about a basically scientific text here, which is supposed to be the basis of our knowledge surrounding evolution in general. So I feel a bit about them changing so much about it, and then also, like, I feel like as a reader of 2025, I would be knowledgeable enough or understand enough that whatever Darwin wrote is not going to be all the same things that we know exactly the way we know them today. But at the same time, I'm assuming, I'm assuming because I would I would understand that fact, but I don't know if this is something that people actually understand. That just because Darwin wrote something, let me keep Googling. Somebody also wrote, I think it was the same person, that they were bothered by the fact that I needed such a long time to get to the point, which is to be reading this book. And I'm really sorry if you came back. I'm very happy you did. I'm sorry I take so long. It's really just, you know, it's the live situation of me actually trying to get over whatever happens in this book and whatever I have been thinking about in the past few days. Yeah. Okay. The origin of species changed in publishing. Okay. Here it's like the AI overview says that the title of the origin, the title of Charles Darwin's influential work changed significantly from its initial proposal to its first published edition in 1859. But I don't give a shit about and sixth edition in 1872. Okay, so maybe he changed it himself as well. That could have been. What? How old? Wait, let me check on the date of this book that we found online. You're my soda pop, my little soda pop. No, it's the 1859 one. Okay, so he has changed it. Sixth edition was in 1872. That's quite a bit later, so maybe he changed his mind and his formulations as well. Let's see if we can find something in this from The Origin of Species. 1872, not 1972. I think I didn't say that. I'm not sure. The Origin of Species, complete work, 6th edition. Yes. Give it to me. Is this actually? Text? Okay. 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 There's this webpage that's called darwin-online.org.uk, which has apparently written down every single thing that he did and has posted the entire 6th edition. Okay, that's interesting. So there is an additions and corrections to the 6th edition. I don't know what additions and corrections to the 6th editions, to the editions before that were, but I'm going to read that now. Numerous small corrections have been made in the last and present editions on various subjects according as the evidence has become somewhat stronger or weaker. The more important corrections and some additions in the present volume are tabulated on the following page for the convenience of those interested in the subject and who possess the 5th edition. The 2nd edition was a little more than a reprint of the first. The 3rd edition was largely the third edition was largely corrected and added to, and the 4th and 5th still more largely. As copies of the present work will be sent abroad, it may be of use if I specify the state of the foreign editions. The 3rd French, okay, I don't care about that. The American, the Italian, the Dutch, the Russian. I don't give a shit. I do give shits, actually. I would be interested in that as well. Yeah, not now. Let's concentrate. Okay, so chief additions and corrections. He has categorized this in differences between 5th edition and 6th edition, and then he has written that the influence, like what changed in these pages, like 5th edition, page 100, 6th edition, page 68, and what has changed is the influence of fortuitous destruction on natural selection. Okay, now then page 158 to page 101 in the 6th edition on the convergence of specific forms. Okay, that's very interesting that he has very specifically listed out what things changed in each from one edition to the other, and that could very well include whatever we have gotten here, because obviously what I have here is didn't I even think to just come here and check which edition it is? Oh my god, I'm so smart. Okay. You're my soda pop, my little soda pop. Life and Times, that is a Collins thing. The Origin of Species. No, okay. Do they have something in the back before the glossary? No. Where can I find this? Where can I find this? No, 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 no. Okay, it has to be in the beginning. Let me check. Classic literature adapted from Collins English Dictionary, typesetting and calyx, blah. I don't care, I don't care, I don't care. By the way or otherwise, yes, I don't care. An imprint of HarperCollins Publishers, yes. Paperback edition, yes, sure, but which edition do we paperback here? It doesn't say. Okay, concentrate. Okay. I don't. Oh, a historical sketch. Huh. Okay, so there's an extra page in this 6th edition that we found online from Darwin, The Origin of Species, which is called An Historical Sketch of the Progress of Opinion on the Origin of Species, previously to the publication of the 1st edition of this work. Previously to the publication. Okay. I will here give a brief sketch of the progress of opinion on the origin of species. Until recently, the great majority of naturalists believed that species were immutable productions and that had been separately created. This view has been ably maintained by many authors. Some few naturalists, on the other hand, have believed that species undergo modification and that the existing forms of life are the descendants by true generation of pre-existing forms. Sure. Passing over allusions to the subject is in the classical writers. And then he has a footnote about Aristotle in his Physicae Osculationes. After remarking that the rain does not fall in order to make corn grow, any more than it falls to spoil the farmer's corn when threshed out of doors, applies the same argument to organization and adds, as translated by Claire Grace, who first pointed out the passage to me, so what hinders the different parts of the body from having this merely accidental relation in nature? As the teeth, for example, grow by necessity, the front ones sharp, adapted to dividing, and the grinders flat and serviceable for masticating the food, since they were not made for the sake of this, but it has the result of accident, and in like manners as to the other parts, in which there appears to exist an adaptation to an end. Wheresoever, therefore, all things together, that is, all the parts of one whole, happened as if they were made for the sake of something, these were natural selection shadowed forth, but how little Aristotle fully comprehended the principle is shown by his remarks on the formation of the teeth. Yeah. That's very interesting. That's very interesting to me because, yeah, I feel like it's I like it. I like what happened here. Oh, somebody wrote me. Hi. Hello from Botswana, Africa. She has too much free time from today's news. Well, I do like using my time to be learning. Yeah, sure. Hi to Henry. I'm very well. How are you? Okay. Yeah. So I find this very fascinating because hi Nikhil. Did I botch this name? Probably right. I don't know. What I do find very interesting here is that huh. Anyways, let's keep reading, and I'm gonna tell you later. The first author who, in modern times, has created it, has treated it in a scientific spirit was Buffon, but as his opinions fluctuated greatly at different periods, and as he does not enter on the causes or means of the transformation of species, I need not here enter on details. Lamarck was the first man whose. Did I? Oh, I'm very happy. I'm very happy that I pronounced your name right because it's I find it uncool when other people mispronounce my name. So okay. So Lamarck was the first man whose conclusions on the subject excited much attention, and this justly celebrated naturalist first published his views in 1801. He much enlarged them in 1809. Let us remind you that this book was written in 1872, the sixth edition. The first one was 58. And in his Philosophie zoologique, hashtag French pro. And subsequently, in 1815, in the introduction of his Hisnat de Animagus Sant Vertebres. In these works, he upholds the doctrine that all species, including man, are descended from other species, and he first did the eminent service of arousing attention to the probability of all change in the organic as well as the inorganic world being the result of law and not of miraculous interposition. Lamarck, do you know what I just thought? That the same way that publishing can change the wording in this printed work of art, people can also change the wording on a web page. So even if I'm gonna try and I'm gonna look for it, and maybe they didn't, but why wouldn't they? Like, this is a very interesting topic to me, and it has nothing to do anymore with the origin of species, but it's fine. It's fine. Everything is fine. I'm gonna go down this rabbit hole because I have too much time. Okay. Where was I? With respect to the means of modification, he attributed something to the direct action of the physical conditions of life, something to the crossing of already existing forms, and much to use and disuse, that is, to the effects of habit. To this latter agency, he seems to attribute all the beautiful adaptations in nature, such as the long neck of the giraffe. I think I did a thing last time where I confused Wallace and Lamarck, but I'm not sure. I would rather have you talk about whatever tickles your mind, even if that means going on different tangent from a book. Oh, well, thank you. That is so nice. I mean, you don't have a chance because my mind is tickled all the time and it's going in every direction. But thank you. That's so kind of you. Yeah, I think that I made a mistake last time, but I'm not sure, and I'm gonna have to rewatch the live to see if I did. And even if I didn't, sorry. And if I did, sorry. And sorry, I guess. Okay. Blood, giraffe. Long neck of the giraffe is browsing on the branches of trees for browsing on the branches of trees. But he likewise believed in a law of progressive development, and as all the forms of life thus tend to progress, in order to account for the existence at the present day of simple productions, he maintains that such forms are now spontaneously generated. Okay. Okay. This keeps on going for a long time, and I'm not going to read all of it because I want to go and check what we came here to check, which was go to the introduction, see if he has the same wording as here. No, I can already see that this beagle thing is not it. It's not the same as it is here. As naturalist, when on board blah, I was much struck with the certain facts in the distribution of the organic beings inhabiting South America. Also, the punctuation has been changed. I don't know if it is changed or if it has been changed, but the punctuation has been changed here. Hey. So there's this thing here. But we talked about it in the beginning. We said that this person that commented over my last under my last live said that the point was that the punctuation has changed over time, obviously, and that earlier in time, let's say like that, people used to write, for example, a comma in between two spaces. And that has not been done in this book, and it has also not been done here. I'm going to look for a semicolon to see if they changed it that way, but yes. So there is no, in the 6th edition that this web page is giving us, it is not changed. It's the modern way of writing with no space before a semicolon. Okay, now I'm gonna go to chapter one, and I'm gonna look at the. Okay, so this wording is the same here. The wording might have been changed by Darwin himself to be what it is here. Okay, so because what we saw between this and the first edition that we checked before was that the entire first sentence of the chapter one, like, was changed. And here it says, when we compare the individuals of the same variety or subvariety, and here it says, when we compare the individuals of the same variety or subvariety, which I like because I feel a little less what's the word? Wait. A little less maybe it is important to note that English is not my first language. I don't think that I could say it in any other language either. So freaked out, yes, freaked out is a good word for it. I do feel a little less freaked out about it. Yes, thank you, that is very nice. Okay, good. Now let me find this indefine and okay, so the paragraphs start the same, which I really like. Okay, indefined variability, blah. And then what we had the last time was that indefinite, obviously. Okay, so what we had the last time was that the indefinite variability is blah, and then we see in space definite variability. Maybe I'm also just reading it wrongly. Let me check. Indefinite variability, we see. Oh, here it is one word. Okay, so here, I don't know what to do. Oh my God. It's not that it's not important at all, actually, but I'm so into it right now. Okay, the problem I had last time was that sometimes the spelling in this book is for words that start with an in to negate it, like indefinite, are written sometimes as one word and sometimes as two words. And I am pissed at that because right now we have a 6th edition on this laptop, which might have been obviously corrected by somebody. You can even have this autocorrection online. I don't even know. I don't know when the page was made. I don't know who wrote it. I don't know who made any changes, if they did, how they did it. But what we can see here is that this edition that I'm going to assume is the 6th edition because it has the same sentence starters as the 6th, what we know to be the 6th edition here online. The problem is that the spelling is different. So here they are separating in and indefinite, and here they are not. So this is what I wanted to check. It took me only 41 minutes. Okay. My ADHD brain. Okay, so, and now we can keep on with our reading as planned. Okay, so we had read the first part of the first paragraph of the first chapter, and we had read the introduction and also the section Life and Times of the author. Which was very interesting. And if you want to see that, I'm going to tell you what I'm explaining. I'm not explaining anything. I'm reading The Origin of Species by Charles Darwin as a biologist. I'm a biologist and I am very interested in reading this book, but I have never, even though I've had this book for ages. But the thing is that I decided to read it, but I was pissed off about several things last time when I started reading it. And then somebody pointed out that maybe, or not maybe, for sure, the problem is that the publishers change things when they think that the modern reader wouldn't be able to understand it or wouldn't be able to, relate better. So they changed things, and that's what I wanted to figure out, what has been changed in The Origin of Species. And the thing is that what has changed is the wording of the digital copies of our web pages sometimes gets changed because there's difference in the format. Yeah, I know, and that's a problem. I hate this. I want to have, do you know what would be the best? Would be to have like every single edition of this book how he intended it to be, like this first edition of his book and then the 6th edition, and be able to compare the two. That would be so cool. That would be so great. Like that, and also what we discussed last time, be able to go and read this book on a trip to the Galapagos. That would be so nice. Okay, let's concentrate. And now we start reading at 45 minutes later. I'm sorry. I'm really, okay. Effects of habit and of the use of this or disuse of parts. Correlated variation, inheritance. No space before the semicolon. Changed habits produce an inherited effect, as in the period of the flowering of plants when transported from one climate to another. With animals, the increased use or disuse of parts has had a more marked influence. Thus, I find in the domestic duck, I love ducks, I find in the domestic ducks that the bone of the wing weigh less than the bones of the leg. I didn't know that. Did you know that? I mean, it makes sense, but I love biology so much. Okay. Wait. Didn't get far, did I? Oh my God. I find in the domestic duck that the bones of the wing weigh less than the bones of the leg. Are you kidding me? Right? It's so fascinating. Okay. Oh, I love this. Okay, chill. Be cool. In proportion to the whole skeleton. Wait, I didn't finish the sentence. Maybe that's not as fascinating as I thought. Wait. Okay, the bone of the duck. What? So, the domestic duck, the bones of the wing weigh less than the bones of the leg in proportion to the whole skeleton than do the same bones in the wild duck. Let me rethink my aha moment now. Oh my God. Okay, wait. So, the proportionally, the weight of the wing bones is less than the weight of the leg bone. That could also be because the domesticated duck has smaller wings. That's not as cool. And in change may be safety attributed to the domestic duck flying much less. I should have just finished my fucking sentence. I should have just finished reading. It's not that cool. Oh, that's so sad for the domestic. Oh, or is it? Is flying is flying as hard as, I don't know, running a marathon? Because if it was, then I don't want to do it either. I want to do it. I want to be a domestic duck. I don't want to be flying more and weighing more. And well, I don't care about how much I weigh, but I mean, like, if my wing weigh less because not my wing, the bones of the wing. It's not even the wing, the entirety of the thing, like the muscles and everything that have atrophied. It's the bone of the wing weigh less and the bones of the leg more, because the domestic duck has to have better bones in her legs because she walks more than she flies. Okay? Oh yeah, but that makes sense. The weight of the wings has to be lesser than, yeah. Yes, I do. I really do have ADHD. Okay. Concentrate. I'm very okay, chill. Then do the same bones of the wild duck, and this change may be safely attributed to the domestic duck flying much less and walking more than its wild parents. I'm disappointed by that, but it's fine. The great and inherited development of the udders in cows and goats in countries where they are habitually milked, in comparison with these organs in other countries, is probably another instance of the effect of use. Let's keep reading before I freak out about it, okay? Not one of our domestic animals can be named which has not in some country drooping ears, and the view which has been suggested that the drooping is due to disuse of the muscles of the ear from the animals being seldom much alarmed seems probable. That is a whole new freak out, because what do you mean is because they didn't have to be alarmed that much? Do you know, like dogs that have standing ears and then dogs that have ears like that? It could be because the dogs like that didn't have to be alarmed as much. Can you believe that? I don't know. I'm learning a lot and I haven't written an entire paragraph yet. Okay. Oh, I did read an entire paragraph. I just finished one. 50 minutes. Oh my god. Many laws regulate variations, some few of which can be dimly seen and will hereafter be briefly discussed. I don't want to briefly discuss anything. I want to discuss this in a very much depth. Please, Mr. Darwin. I will here only allude to what may be called correlated variation. Fine. Important changes in the embryo or larva will probably entail changes in the mature animal. Makes sense. In monstrosities, what counts as a monstrosity? In monstrosities, the correlations between quite distinct patterns are very curious, and many instances are given in Isolde Geoffroy Saint-Hilaire's great work on the subject. What counts as a monstrosity? Do I count as a monstrosity? I want to count as a monstrosity. Breeders believe, I'm concentrating, I'm fine, everything's fine. Breeders believe that long limbs are almost always accompanied by an elongated head. Long limbs, elongated head. Okay. Some instances of correlation are quite whimsical. Thus, cats which are entirely white and have blue eyes are genetically deaf. But it has been lately stated by Mr. Tate that this is confined to the males. I want somebody to Google right now if white cats with blue ears, with blue eyes are deaf. Is it actually like that? Is it still like that? If it was like that, that cats which are entirely white and have blue eyes are generally deaf. But it has been lately stated by Mr. Tate that this is confided to the males. Do you know? I need to know. I need to be writing this shit down because I need to actually look it up. Let me check. Wait a second. I need to just send myself a WhatsApp. Okay. White cats with blue eyes deaf. And then duck bones. Very important. Duck bones weigh what duck bones in the what's this called? Wing weigh less in domesticated ducks. I'm just gonna keep this running. I need to drink water. I need someone to tell me if this is actually true. I didn't know that white cats can be deaf or are more likely to be deaf. Okay. Chill. Be cool. And the drooping ears? No, I need drooping ears. Yes. Okay, now I can get back to this. Okay. Blah. Color and constitutional peculiarities go together, of which many... Wait a second, does this mean that a white cat is a monstrosity? Why does a white cat count as a monstrosity and I don't? From facts collected by Huizinga, it appears that white sheep and pigs are injured by certain plants, while dark-colored individuals escape. Professor Wyman has recently communicated to me a good illustration of this fact on asking some farmers in Virginia how it was that all their pigs were black, and they informed him that the pigs ate the paint root, Lachnanthes, I guess, which colored their bones pink and which caused the hoofs off all but the black varieties to drop off. The hoofs dropped off? That is pretty dramatic. That colored their bones pink. Why did he know? I don't want him to know what the color of my bones is because I ate a pig. The fuck? Okay, the pigs ate the paint root, Lachnanthes, and that colored their bones pink, and that caused the hoofs to fall off on everyone but the black varieties. And one of the crackers, Virginia squatters, added, I don't know what a cracker is. I still don't know. I don't know what a Virginia squatter is. Added that this is in these. We select the black members of a litter for raising, as they alone have a good chance of living. Hairless dogs have imperfect teeth. What do you mean? Hairless dogs have imperfect teeth. Long-haired and coarse-haired animals are apt to have, as is asserted, long or many horns. Pigeons with feathered feet have skin between their outer toes. Pigeons with short beaks have small feet, and those with long beaks, large feet. Do you know what I would like more than reading all 6 editions of this? Is to get a time machine and go meet this person, because I feel like he has the coolest nerd attacks of all time, and we would be so great friends. Okay, hence, if man goes on selecting and thus augmenting any peculiarity, he will almost certainly modify unintentionally other parts of the structure owing to the mysterious laws of correlation. Sure, he brought it back to evolution, and fine, whatever, and selection, but that's so cool. Okay. The results of the various unknown, or so we would be doing reading sessions with him all. Yes. How cool would that be, actually? How cool would that be? Imagine reading sessions with Charles Darwin and just sitting there and being like, how did you find that out? What did you do? I don't know. Are you sure? I love this. Oh, this would be so cool. Okay. I'm so excited. There is no reason to be so excited, but I am. Okay, chill. The results of the various unknown or but dimly understood laws of variation are infinitely complex and diversified. It is well worth while carefully to study the several treatises. I don't know the word. Treatises? Oh well. On some of our old cultivated plants, as on the hyacinth, Bridgerton, ADHD, potato, and even the dahlia, etc. And it is really surprising to know, what can be more surprising to know than what we have already heard, right? And it is really surprising to note the endless points of structure and constitution in which the varieties and subvarieties differ slightly from each other. Okay, it is interesting. It is surprising. The whole organization seems to have become plastic and departs in a slight degree from that of the parental type. Any variation which is not inherited is unimportant for us, but the number and diversity of inheritable deviations of structure, both those of slight and those of considerable physiological importance, are endless. Dr. Prosper Lucas's treatise. Oh, we have these two words, two times this word, which I don't know. It's Treatise. Okay, so in case you know, treatise. Treatise. I don't know. In 2 large volumes, is the fullest and the best on the subject. No breeder doubts how strong is the tendency to inheritance. That's true, and that was true back then. That like produces like, and his fundamental belief. Doubts have been thrown on this principle only by theoretical writers. When any deviation of structure often appears, and we see it in the father and child, we cannot tell whether. I feel like this is sexist, but it's fine. It is father and child. Why not? Okay, it's fine. Everything is fine. What happened? Why? Because I've been here for too long? Okay. Okay. Where was I? No breeder doubts how strong the tendency is, father and child. We cannot tell whether it may not be due to the same cause having acted on both, but when among individuals apparently exposed to the same conditions, any very rare deviation due to some extraordinary combination or circumstances appears in the parent, say once among several million individuals, and it reappears in the child. The mere doctrine of chances almost compels us to attribute its reappearance to inheritance. Everyone must have heard of cases of albinism, prickly skin, hairy bodies, etc., appearing in several members of the same family. Duh. If strange and rare deviations of structure are truly inherited, less strange and commoner deviations may be freely admitted to the inheritable. Perhaps the correct way of viewing the whole subject would be to look at the inheritance of every character whatever as the rule and non-inheritance as the anomaly. That is actually cool. That's cool. I love this. Okay. The laws governing inheritance are for the most part unknown. Where? Well, for the most part is probably still true. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, the laws governing inheritance are for the most part unknown. No one can say why the same peculiarity in different individuals of the same species or in different species is sometimes inherited and sometimes not so. Why the child often reverts in certain characteristic to its grandfather or grandmother or more remote ancestor. Why a peculiarity is often transmitted from one sex to both sexes or to one sex alone. True. That is weird. More commonly, but not exclusively, to the like sex. It is a fact of some importance to us that peculiarities appearing in the males of our domestic breeds are often transmitted either exclusively or in a much greater degree to the males alone. Imagine if he knew about chromosomes. Oh, it would be so fun to meet him and to be there and be like, oh, you know why that is? Oh, we figured that out by now. Oh, that would be so nice. Okay. Where was I? To the males alone, yes. A much more important rule, which I think may be trusted, is that at whatever period of life a peculiarity first appears, it tends to reappear in the offspring at a corresponding age, though sometimes earlier. In many cases, this could not be otherwise. Thus, the inherited peculiarities in the horns of cattle could appear only in the offspring when nearly mature. Peculiarities in the silkworm are known to appear at the corresponding caterpillar or cocoon stage, but hereditary diseases and some other facts make me believe that the rule was a wider extension and that when there is no apparent reason why a peculiarity should appear at any particular age yet that it does tend to appear in the offspring at the same period at which it first appeared in the parent. I believe this rule to be of the highest importance in explaining the laws of embryology. Yes, that would be a great dinner date. That would be actually that would be the best dinner date. You know, this question where people are like, okay, if you could ask any person in the world, dead or alive, to dinner for one night, who would you choose? I used to choose my sister. Now I'm not so sure anymore. No, I am. I am still very sure that I would choose my sister, obviously, but that would be a close second right now. I'm fascinated. But I mean, the thing is that I am fascinated and I know a lot of I understand a lot of the things, and I understand also things that have been discovered after and building on this. So that is really cool. It's really cool that you get to experience this from his perspective now. Okay. Where was I? Embryology, yes. These remarks are, of course, confined to the first appearance. This is a screamed thing. Appearance! These remarks are, of course, confined to the first appearance of the peculiarity and not to the primary cause, which may have acted. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. My sister's charm does come very close to Darwin's theories. It does. I mean, my sister's charm is also very specifically selected to fit my needs and my constitution, you know? Yeah. I'm having too much fun. Okay. Blah blah. These remarks are, of course, confined to the appearance of the peculiarity and not to the primary cause, which may have acted on the ovules or on the male element in nearly the same manner as the increased length of the horns in the offspring from a short-horned cow by a long-horned bull, though appearing late in life is clearly due to the male element. Meh. Having alluded to the subject of reversion, I may here refer to the statement often made by naturalists, namely that our domestic varieties, when run wild, gradually but invariably revert in character to their aboriginal stocks. Hence, it has been argued that no deductions can be drawn from domestic races to species in a state of nature. So the limitation I feel like this is actually posing right now is that if I'm going to reread the sentence and explain, hopefully, in a quicker fashion what I mean. Now, hence it has been argued that no deductions can be drawn from domestic races to species in a state of nature. We are in 2025, and I would argue that a lot of the species that exist in our periphery nowadays and are being researched upon are in some way domesticated. Even, I don't know if you've read the Sapolsky books, but even if you are talking about some baboons who are theoretically in the wild, but they are still knowledgeable of the fact that they are able to go break into the trash cans of humans and get food out of there. This is a you understand what I mean? That this is a like, are there any species around us that are not domesticated in some sense? It's not a domestication in the sense of, oh, I have it living with me and it's my pet, or it's my farm animal or whatever, and it brings me more eggs, but it has a learned behavior. It knows how to stay away or go near humans. I don't know, if you're a bird in a city, you're not a domesticated animal, but you're also not a wild animal. You know what I mean? You know, and then the second part of that is that we are researching with lab animals, and whatever research that is, it doesn't matter. But if we cannot take any conclusions on how that well, not any, you know, but it's not the same. But the thing is that if you are actually if you're actually not able to draw any, well, but that's a problem that scientists have all the time in their entire lives, because it's a thing, you know, you are trying to make a very specific observation about a very specific thing, but then you realize that, yeah, what I did now was make this observation about this very specific situation with these very specific animals in this very specific, and I'm sorry, we are being very specific about it, but at the same time, we are trying to draw conclusions about other things, and not other things, other species, and even like wilder animals, or you know how in medicine there are many experiments that are done on mice, for example, that are how we develop some medicine and treatments for humans. So you are even drawing conclusions with a different species. And yeah. You mean the animals and the species coexist with humans in the same environment but are not domesticated? Yes, they are not domesticated. They are not domesticated, but they are. So they're not domesticated, but their characteristics through living with humans for that amount of time and that amount of and also we're not just like, oh, I'm here, I'm just human, I'm doing whatever my thing, or I'm killing two animals a year and I'm eating them. It's a, I've extinguished any natural habitat of other people, other animals on such a wide range of the world. So I have extinguished I have changed the natural habitats. I have changed the habitats so that the so that the other animals have to adjust, and thus they are somehow naturally selected, but the nature that is selecting them is us, in a way, not in a purposeful way, but in a way, you know. And now, yeah, well, it's fine, let's keep going. Yeah. Wild state, yes. In many cases, we do not know what the Aboriginal stock was. Agreed. And so could not tell whether or not nearly perfect reversion had ensued. Agreed. It would be necessary, in order to prevent the effects of intercrossing, that only a single variety should be turned loose at its new home. Yeah, not possible. Nevertheless, as our varieties certainly do occasionally revert in some of their characters to ancestral forms, it seems to me not improbable that if we could succeed in naturalizing, or were to cultivate during many generations, the several races, for instance, of the cabbage, in very poor soil, in which case, however, some effect would have to be attributed to the definite action. It's like, who writes in all caps? I'm writing a book, by the way, and I'm gonna be writing in all caps because Darwin did it and he's my bestie now. Attributed to the definite action of the poor soil, that they would to a large extent or even wholly revert to the wild Aboriginal stock. Well, that is a brave assumption. I wouldn't assume that. I would assume that they would change again, but it's not necessarily to revert back to the Aboriginal stock. But fine. Whether or not the experiment would succeed is not of great importance for our line of argument, for by the experiment itself, the conditions of life are changed. Yes, exactly my point. If it could be shown that our domestic varieties manifested a strong tendency to reversion, that is, to lose their acquired characters while kept under the same conditions and while kept in a considerable body, so that free intercrossing might check by blending together, by blending together any slight deviations in their structure. In such case, I grant that we could deduce nothing from domestic varieties in regard to species, but there is not a shadow of evidence in favor of this view. To assert that we could not breed our cart and race horses, long and short-horned cattle and poultry of various breeds, and esculent vegetables for an unlimited number of generations would be opposed to all experience. Duh. What did you write? You mean the animals and species who coexist? Yes. Yes. No. Yeah. Society. Yes. Society. Hard. This book is not easy. This book is not easy because I'm way too excited about it. Okay. Next chapter thingy. Character of domestic varieties. By the way, for anybody who doesn't know, we are reading The Origin of Species by Charles Darwin. Character of domestic varieties. Difficulty of distinguishing between varieties and species. Origin of domestic varieties from one or more species. If I was his editor, which I am not, I would help him with his titles because they're shit. But it's fine. It's very scientifically correct. It's fine. When we look to the hereditary varieties or races, wait a second, I saw that I have a WhatsApp thing and I need to check it. Oh, this is so cute. I was so I'm helping out at a homeless shelter, and I went there today because they had a summer feast, basically a summer party for especially for the children, and I've been working with some children there, and they sent us now some pictures from the day, and it was very cute. It was a beautiful day. It was really nice to. It rained. It rained. Some summer fest there, but it's fine. It was fine. It was very fun, and it was nice to see the people and how many organizations and people actually help in those situations. Yeah. When we look to the hereditary varieties of or races of our domestic animals and plants and compare them with closely allied species, we generally perceive in each domestic race, as already remarked, less uniformity or of character than in true species. Domestic races often have a somewhat monstrous character, by which I mean that although differing from each other and from other species of the same genus, in several trifling respects, they often differ in an extreme degree in some one part, both when compared one with another, and more especially when compared with the species under nature to which they are nearest allied. With these exceptions, and with that of the perfect fertility or of varieties when crossed, a subject hereafter to be discussed, domestic races of the same species differ from each other in the same manner as do the closely allied species of the same genus in a state of nature. But the differences in most cases are less in degree. This must be admitted as true for the domestic races of many animals and plants. For the domestic races of many animals and plants have been ranked by some competent judges as the descendants of aboriginally distinct. This must be admitted as true, for the domestic races of many animals and plants have been ranked by some competent judges as the descendants of aboriginally distinct species, and by other competent judges as mere varieties. If any well-marked distinctions existed between a domestic race and a species, this source of doubt would not so perpetually recur. That is actually also the problem that I had before, like with what is the difference between a domestic species, a domesticated species, or the domesticated animals of a species and the wild animals and the in between animals, you know. It has often been stated that domestic races do not differ from each other in characteristics of genetic value. It can be shown that this statement is not correct, but naturalists differ much in determining what characters are of generic value. I said genetic before, didn't I? I meant generic. Okay, so let's read this again. It has often been stated that domestic races do not differ from each other in characters of generic value. It can be shown that this statement is not correct, but naturalists differ much in determining what characters are of generic value, all such variations being at present empirical. When it is explained how genera originate under nature, it will be seen that we have no right to expect often to find a generic amount of difference in our domesticated races. Okay. In attempting to estimate the amount of structural difference between allied domestic races, we are soon involved in doubt from not knowing whether they are descended from one or several parent species. This point, if it could be cleared up, would be interesting if, for instance, it could be shown that the greyhound, bloodhound, terrier, spaniel, I think, spaniel and bulldog, which we all know propagate their kind truly, were the offspring of any single species. Wait a second. They're not different species. They're different races domesticated in different directions. But there is a common ancestor to dogs in general. They're not a different species. What are you talking about? They're not different species. Well, maybe he didn't know. I don't know. This point, if it could be cleared up, would be interesting if, for instance, it could be shown that the greyhound, bloodhound, terrier, spaniel, and bulldog, which we all know propagate their kind truly, were the offspring of any single species, then such facts would have great weight in making us doubt about the immutability of the many closely allied natural species, for instance, of the many foxes inhabiting the different quarters of the world. I think I may have misunderstood something, but I don't care enough. I do not believe, as we shall presently see, that the whole amount of difference between the several breeds of the dog has been exactly. What do you mean? I do not believe that we shall presently see that the whole amount of difference between the several breeds of the dog has been produced under domestication. What do you mean? That there has been difference between the several breeds that have nothing to do with domestication? Sure. I guess. I mean, we talked about the cats with no hearing before, the white cats with blue eyes, the thing, which I need to Google like right now. It's fine. Everything's fine. I'm concentrating. I believe that a small part of the difference is due to their being descended from distinct species. What do you mean? I mean, wait. No. I believe that a small part of the difference is due to their being descended from distinct species. Disagree. In the case of strongly marked races of some other domesticated species, there is presumptive or even strong evidence that all are descended from a single wild stock. It doesn't. It doesn't make any sense, right? Yeah. I understand that dog breeds are look very differently. They have different characters. They have a lot of differences. And then, I mean, what would you, okay, so, no, but they're not different species because they can still make offspring that is able to reproduce. So it's not a different species, it's just a different breed. But on the other hand, there have been different species of humans. They're not anymore because we prevailed, but there have been so many different species of hominoids and humans that were actually distinct species, but could reproduce or could reproduce often enough to create this one, the Homo sapiens. Because you have like Homo erectus, you have the Neanderthals. They did crossbreed, basically. We had others as well that have gone extinct, sure, but so the assumption could be that we have had different species of dogs, different species of wolves, even maybe. Well, it's a universal answer. It's a common ancestor. It's not. It has often been assumed that man has chosen for domestication animals and plants having an extraordinary inherent tendency to vary and likewise to withstand diverse climates. I do not dispute that these capabilities have added largely to the value of most of our domesticated productions. But how could a savage possibly know when he first tamed an animal whether it would vary in succeeding generations? He doesn't have to need. He doesn't need to know. You are trying things, just like with evolution. Things are being tried, and then they either worked out or they didn't. What do you mean? And then with this one dog, it worked. I guess. Um. Okay. I do not dispute that these capacities have added largely to the value of most of our domesticated productions, but how could a savage possibly know? You don't have to know. When he first tamed an animal, whether it would vary in succeeding generations, you don't have to know, again. And whether it would endure other climates, you don't have to know that either. Has the little variability of the ass and goose, or the small power of endurance of warmth in the reindeer? What? Has the little variability of the ass and goose, ass as in ASS, I believe there are multiple species of sapiens present at the same time, but never wondered if they ever did crossbreed. Well, they, they sometimes did, but if it led to offspring is one question, and then if it led to offspring that is able to reproduce is a whole nother question. But that can also be caused by mutations. So, like this, hard. Frustrated. Okay. The ass and goose is actually ASS. I don't know what an ass is except for an ass. But we'll see, I guess. I don't know. Okay. Has the little variability of the ass and goose, or the small power of endurance of warmth by the reindeer, or of cold by the common camel, prevented their domestication? I cannot doubt that if other animals and plants equal in number to our domesticated productions and belonging to equally diverse classes and countries were taken from the state of nature and could be made to breed for an equal number of generations under domestication, they would, on an average, vary as largely as the parent species of our extinct domesticated productions have varied. Yes and no. Yes, because they would, on an average, vary as much as the parent species in differences, but they would not vary in the same ways, obviously, because we have a different pool to start from, genetic pool. In the case of most of our anciently, in the case of most of our anciently domesticated animals and plants, it is not possible to come to any definite conclusion whether they are descended from one or several wild species. The argument mainly relied on by those who believe in the multiple origin of our domestic animals is that we find in the most ancient times on the monuments of Egypt and in the lake habitations of Switzerland, much diversity in the breeds, and that some of these ancient breeds closely resemble, or are even identical with, those still existing. But this only throws far backward the history of civilization and shows that animals were domesticated at a much earlier period than has hitherto been supposed. Hitherto is a very beautiful word. Just wanted to let you know. Okay, where was I? Where is the hitherto? Yes, here, thank you. The lake inhabitants of Switzerland cultivated several kinds of wheat and barley and pea, the poppy for oil and flax, and they possessed several domesticated animals. They also carried on commerce with other nations. All this clearly shows, as here has remarked, that they had at this early age progressed considerably in civilization, and this again implies a long continued previous period of less advanced civilization during which the domesticated animals kept by different tribes in different districts might have varied and given rise to distinct races. Huh, yeah, I've never thought about it like that. But yeah, sure. I mean, I don't know, if I got a wolf and wanted to domesticate it, I probably would come to a completely different, over generations, obviously, a completely different part of dog kind to, I don't know, a Paris Hilton would. Because she prefers these little tiny bag dogs, and I do not. I prefer dogs that weigh as much as I do, or more. Yeah. Since the discovery of flint tools in the superficial formations of many parts of the world, all geologists believe that barbarian man existed at an enormously remote period. Must say they just did, but it's fine. No, and we know that at the present day there is hardly a tribe so barbarous as not to have domesticated at least the dog. Definitely. The origin of most of our domestic animals will probably forever remain vague, but I may here state that looking to the domestic dogs of the whole world, I have, after a laborious collection of all known facts, come to the conclusion that several wild species of Canidae have been tamed and that their blood in some cases mingled together. Still have my problems with that. But it's fine. He may be like the geographical distinction between my dog and Paris Hilton's dog could have been that long, evolutionary speaking, could have been that long and that far apart that they could have been considered at this time as separate species if they want to. But yeah.
In regard to sheep and goats, I can form no decided opinion. Okay. From facts communicated to me by Mr. Blythe, I think, on the habits, voice, constitution, and structure of the humped Indian cattle, it is almost certain that they are descended from a different aboriginal stock from our European cattle, and some competent judges believe that these latter have had 2 or 3 wild progenitors. Fine. Whether or not these deserve to be called species. Thank you. This conclusion, as well as that of the specific distinction between the humped and common cattle, may indeed be looked upon as established by the admirable researches of Professor Rutingmeier. Rutimeier is the correct pronunciation. With respect to horses, from reasons which I cannot here give. Why? What do you mean you cannot give the reasons here? How? Like 600 pages. Give the reasons. With respect to horses, from reasons which I cannot here give, I am doubtfully inclined to believe, in opposition to several authors, that all the races belong to the same species. Now, wait a second. You are telling me that you are not here, you're not gonna hear, what was the wording? You will not here give, but you are giving an entirely opposing opinion to everyone, to every single person that has ever talked before you. That's bold. Having kept nearly all the English breeds of the fowl alive, having bred and crossed them and examined their skeletons, it appears to me almost certain that all are the descendants of the wild Indian fowl, Gallus bankiva. And this is the conclusion of Mr. Blythe and of others who have studied this bird in India. Okay, so he did say something, I guess. In regard to ducks and rabbits, tell me more about ducks. In regards to ducks and rabbits, some breeds of which differ much from each other, the evidence is clear that they are all descended from the common duck and wild rabbit. Okay. The doctrine of the origin of our several domestic races from several aboriginal stocks has been carried to an absurd extreme by some authors. They believe that every race which breeds true, let the distinctive characters be ever so slight, has had its wild prototype. Fine. At this rate, there must have existed at least a score of species of wild cattle, as many sheep and several goats in Europe alone, and several even within Great Britain. One author believes... Which author? One author. Who are we? Mrs. Whistledown. Lady Whistledown, I'm sorry. Obviously. One author believes that there formerly existed 11 wild species of sheep peculiar to Great Britain! Exclamation point. When we bear in mind that Britain has now not one peculiar mammal, and France but few distinct from those of Germany, and so with Hungary, Spain, etc., but that each of these kingdoms possesses several peculiar breeds of cattle, sheep, etc., we must admit that many domestic breeds must have originated in Europe. For whence otherwise could they have been derived? For whence otherwise could they otherwise have been derived? Yeah. So it is in India. Even in the case of the breeds of the domestic dog throughout the world, which I admit are descended from several wild species, it cannot be doubted. Several wild species again. I don't know about that, Darwin. Charlie, come on. Do you know this meme? I mean, I'm gonna out myself as super old right now, but do you remember this meme of Charlie bit my finger? Ow, Charlie, that hurts. He bit my finger. Okay. I'm concentrating. Sorry. Yeah. Even in the case of the breeds of the domestic dog throughout the world, which I admit are descended from several wild species, it cannot be doubted that there has been an immense amount of inherited variation. For who will believe that animals closely resembling the Italian greyhound, the bloodhound, the bulldog, pug dog, do they have pugs? You do? I'm so happy you do remember it. I'm so happy you do. Pug dog, there were pugs back then, okay, or Blenheim Spanish, etc., so unlike all wild Canidae, ever existed in a state of nature. It has often been loosely said that all our races of dogs have been produced by the crossing of a few aboriginal species, but by crossing we can only get forms in some degree immediate between their parents. Makes sense. And if we count for our several domestic races by this process, we must admit the former existence of the most extreme forms as the Italian greyhound, bloodhound, bulldog, etc. in the wild state. Fine. Moreover, the possibility of making distinct races by crossing has been greatly exaggerated. Many cases are on record showing that a race may be modified by occasional crosses if aided by the careful selection of the individuals which present the desired character, but to obtain a race intermediate between two quite distinct races would be very difficult. I cannot contradict you right now. So fine. Sir J. Sebright, or Zebright, expressly experimented with this object. Sir J. Sebright expressly experimented with this object and failed. Am I the drama? The offspring from the first cross between two pure breeds is tolerably, and sometimes, as I have found with pigeons, quite uniform in character, and everything seems simple enough. But when these mongrels are crossed one with another for several generations, hardly two of them are alike, and then the difficulty of the task becomes manifest. I think this is enough for today. We are getting to the third chunk of the first chapter, and I am super tired right now because this is a lot, and I'm gonna go Google right now about this white cats thing and the ducks, the duck bones and the drooping ears, and I'm gonna let you know the next time what I found out because I'm super tired. I've been talking for way too long. I haven't talked that much since the last live. Water helps. But I feel like I cannot get through. We read 10 pages. We've been here 1 hour 43. Well, we started at 45 with the actual reading because before that I was freaking out. It was so nice spending time with you all. Thank you so much for joining. Yes, they were long pages. That's true. Thank you for engaging so much, Nikhil. It was very nice to meet you and to discuss this with you. Yeah, and sorry for freaking out about everything every 2 sentences. It was very that's why I'm doing this online, because I'm very excited to be reading this book as a biologist, as someone who has studied evolution a lot. Yeah, and I'll see you next time. I don't remember. I don't remember. I don't know yet when the next time is going to be, because it depends on, well, I would say hair wash days, but that is apparently not the case. And but on a lot of things, and we'll see when that is going to be again. And then, yeah. Anyways, I'm very much looking forward to it. I don't know how you stay connected. For YouTube, it is easier because you can just go onto my page and then have the notification bell thingy. You can, if you follow me, you can click on this notification bell, and then you should get a notification that Margarita is going live, and then that would be like
the case. Of course, that could be at any point in time where you might not be able to join, and that would be very sad. But at the same time, I mean, who has 1.5 hours of time every time it tickles my fancy, you know? So I'm not gonna hold it. I'm not gonna hold you to it. It's fine. Yeah, and then on other apps like Instagram, I'm not going live on Instagram, but and I'm also not telling anyone that I'm going live on any other platform on Instagram. So I don't know. But then on TikTok, you can also, I don't know, follow, and then you'll see when I pop up, I guess. I don't know. I don't know how that works. This is my second live ever. I have no idea. But anyways, I remembered that I wanted to find out how to have writing on the screen for TikTok, because I feel like nobody reads the description, and if you read the description, it's like, okay, read Darwin with me, but I need to figure out how to say that, to do that. Yeah, it was very nice spending so much time with you today and reading so much today, and now I'm gonna go read, I don't know, other things, because I don't want to not read something out of this book alone and not have you involved, of course. But yeah, we'll see each other again, I hope. Thank you so much for being here. No, TikTok in India, and I don't use Instagram. Lol. Yeah, I know. YouTube is basically the best option, because YouTube you can follow, and you can click the notification bell, and then you get the notification from that. Because Instagram, I don't even like. On Instagram, I'm not doing anything related to, so I'm reposting the videos that I post on TikTok as well, but I'm not anything that happens in relation to me being a science nerd is also happening on YouTube at all times. Not on Instagram at all times, but on YouTube, it is happening everywhere. So if you follow me on YouTube, you're fine. You're golden. And also, thank you very much for staying that long. That was very nice of you. Yeah. Okay. See you next time then. Bye-bye. How do you close that? How do you close that?